Hello, and thank you for joining me on another foodoffensive.com weekly transmission, weekly update. This is a weekly video that I do to bring about awareness and action to our food supply. The tagline is "Coming at you from the front lines of the food supply." And I was just going to update you again this week. I hope you saw the special Valentine's Day video I did last week, looking at some of those ingredients that are in our chocolates and things that we eat, and that reoccurring soy product that we kept seeing in those ingredients lists that will help us transition back into a part 2 of our special reports that's on soy. As you know, we did a soy part 1 a couple of weeks ago, but what's in store for this week is there's no food news. Usually we do a little bit of current news that's out there, but we're not going to do any of that this week. We're just going to jump right into the 5th installment on a series of special reports on GMO. And these special reports have really been about the what, the where, the how, and the why, and then what products that are genetically modified. And then later on we'll look at the effects on the environment and some of the health risks, keeping on with that theme, and also later how to read labels, and then what we can do, what kind of action we can do. And this week we're going to actually look a little bit about what action can produce, what the results of that are if we take action. So this week it's soy, genetically modified soy, a special report on GMOs, and it's part 2 of the soy. And this is we're going to talk a little bit about soy allergies. Are they caused by GM soy? And then also what happens when just a few people take action. And also we're going to look at what soy, is soy good in general? In general, is soy even good for us? And we're going to look at those things, So current news this week, there won't be any news this week. We're going to just go right into the special report. But you can look on, follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and you can see some of the current articles that I post from other blogs and things, and some of the things going on right now. But this week's special report, GMO Soy Part 2. If you remember from last time, 2 weeks ago, we did GMOs are not safe, a little article from Institute for Responsible Technology, and we looked at just the specifics of the soy in those studies and the results of those studies on soy, and the showing that they aren't safe. And then about soybeans and what products that contain soy. We looked at some of the products, and we really found out that a lot like corn, there are a lot of products that have soy in them. And if you saw the Valentine's Day video that I referred to earlier, you saw a lot of those soy products as well. So all that and all those candies. So this week we're going to look at soy part 2. Is any soy safe at all? I was really surprised whenever I was doing some research for this week's video about soy allergies, and just thinking about the rise in allergies in general, and what, look at the cause and effect of these things, and what's really causing that. And so I really found out some things about soy that I didn't know. So hopefully I can transmit that on to you. And also, of course, soy allergies this week. Are they caused by GM soy? Are they caused by GM soy? Are they accelerated by it? And then also what happens when people take action. We're going to look at some positive things about GMOs and getting them out of our food supply. So, of course, we've looked each week, first of all, what is GMO? And it just stands for genetically modified organism. It can also be labeled as GEO, genetically engineered organism. It's an organism whose genetic material has been altered using genetic engineering techniques. Now, before even touching on the genetically modified soy, that variety of soy, let's ask this: is soy in general safe at all? And that's what I was referring to just now about is soy at all in general safe for us, not just the genetically modified kind. So the truth about unfermented soy and its harmful effects. This was an article back in 2008 on naturalnews.com by Taya Sky, and it says this: with vegetarianism gaining increasing popularity from the 1970s and reaching its peak in the 1990s, soy has emerged as a near-perfect food, with supporters claiming it can provide an ideal source of protein, lower cholesterol, protect against cancer and heart disease, reduce menopausal symptoms, and prevent osteoporosis, among many other things. It seems like a good thing, or is it really? How did such a, quote, healthy food emerge from a product that in 1913 was listed in the U.S. Department of Agriculture, that's the USDA, in that handbook, not as a food, but as an industrial product. How did it emerge from that to now that it's a health food? Well, according to a lipid specialist and nutritionist, Mary Innig, she's a PhD, she said, the reason there's so much soy in America is because the soy industry started to plant soy to extract the oil from it, and soy oil became a very large industry. Now, there was a lot of soy oil, and with it came a lot of soy protein residue as a leftover byproduct. And since they couldn't feed it to the animals, except in small quantities, they had to find another big market, which, of course, was human consumption. So it goes on to say, soy products are classified into two main groups. That's fermented and unfermented. Now, the unfermented soy category is the most problematic one. It includes soy products such as tofu, bean curd, all soy milks, soy infant formula, soy protein powders, and soy meat alternatives such as, the soy veggie burgers and the sausages and tofurkey and those things. And it's made from a hydrolyzed soy powder. Now, this article also includes a summary, and this summary outlines the adverse effects of unfermented soy products. And one of them is trypsin inhibitors in soy interfere with protein digestion and may cause pancreatic disorders. In test animals, soy containing these trypsin inhibitors cause stunted growth. There's also another one, soy phytoestrogen disrupts endocrine function and have the potential to cause infertility and to promote breast cancer in adult women. So I read that one and I thought, well, the Susan G. Komen Foundation, they do the Race for the Cure every year, and they really do fight for a cure. Well, what about prevention? When I look at these things, what can we do to even not get to that point? Let's work on a prevention for these things, and it just so happens that some of the things we eat could be causing those things. So let's worry about a prevention as well in fighting for a cure for those that have already been affected. How about we work on a prevention to even prevent that from happening? So that's just my little 2 cents there. But the article goes on to list another one, and it's talking about the phytoestrogen again. The soy phytoestrogens are potent antithyroid agents that cause hypothyroidism and may cause thyroid cancer. And then in infants, consumption of soy formula has been linked to autoimmune thyroid disease, and soy foods increase the body's requirement for vitamin D. So it requires you to get more of that. And then there's fragile proteins that are denatured during high temperature processing to make soy protein isolate in textured vegetable protein. And then also free glutamatic acid, or MSG, which is a potential neurotoxin, is formed during soy processing, and additional amounts are added to many soy foods. And then also the last one here, soy foods contain high levels of aluminum, which is toxic to the nervous system and the kidneys. Now, there's good news to this, and that's in contrast to the unfermented soy. If you consume organic fermented soy products, it's quite beneficial. Consuming even small amounts of unfermented soy on a regular basis could cause some adverse effects in our body. And then let's look at going on here, some soy allergies. Are they caused or accelerated by GMO soy, by genetically modified soy? Well, let's look at a couple articles I found with that. There's an article titled "Spilling the Beans" back in May of 2007. Seedsofdeception.com. That's the Jeffrey M. Smith. That's one of his books that he had and videos. The proponent of really genetically modified, the movement against genetically modified organisms and what's going on, and how to getting the word out about the studies and the scientists under attack and the other publications and videos that he's produced. So this article, "Spilling the Beans," it says this: the huge jump in childhood food allergies in the U.S. is in the news often, but most reports fail to consider a link to a radical change in America's diet. And beginning in 1996, bacteria, virus, and other genes have been artificially inserted to the DNA of soy, corn, cottonseed, and canola plants. Now, these unlabeled genetically modified foods carry a risk of triggering life-threatening allergic reactions, and evidence collected over the past decade now suggests that they are contributing to higher allergy rates. So my suspicions, I think, unfortunately, may be right, and according to this article. It goes on, genetically engineering may provoke increased allergies to soy. The classical understanding of why a GM crop or genetically modified crop might create new allergies is that the imported genes produce a new protein, which has never before been present. The novel protein may trigger reactions, and this was demonstrated in the mid-90s when soybeans were outfitted with a gene from the Brazil nut. While the scientists had attempted to produce a healthier soybean, they ended up with a potentially deadly one. See, they start out with a good intentions with these things, but of course they saw the outcome and it wasn't the best. It wasn't what they had intended. And it goes on, blood tests from people who were allergic to Brazil nuts showed reactions to the beans. It was fortunately never put on the market. That's good. And then also goes on, the GM variety that is planted in 89% of U.S. soy acres gets its foreign gene from bacteria. And we don't know if advance in the protein produced by bacteria, which has never been part of the human food supply, will provoke a reaction. Other headings within this article goes on, and it's a very lengthy article. It's a long article, but there's other headlines that I wanted to make note of here. I don't want to get into each specifics of each one, but I'm just going to kind of read the headlines in that article. And the first one, or the next one down from when I was reading, it says food safety tests are inadequate to protect public health. And it also points out that the only published human feeding study on GM foods ever conducted verified that portions of the gene inserted into GM soy ended up transferring into the DNA of human gut bacteria. Of course, there's no controlled tests, but right now we are eating them, and then we are reaping the benefits or the negative aspects of it. But also it goes on another title in that article, a subtitle: Genetic engineering damaged soy DNA, creating new or more allergens. Also, increased herbicides on GM crops may cause reactions. Also, GM soy might impede digestion, leading to allergies. And then also soy linked to peanut allergies. We've seen a huge rise in peanut allergies, and they're trying to, create genetically modified peanuts that help the people that are allergic to peanuts where they can eat peanuts. And I guess there could be some good uses for it, but you're really just screwing things up, I think, by you're creating all kinds of different things that weren't intended, that weren't natural. And then we don't know what these new peanuts are going to, what problems they're going to cause. So it's a big mess, and they're trying to genetically modify their way out of it, I guess you could say. But another subtitle in that article says, eating GM foods is gambling with our health. And then Jeffrey M. Smith has a book called Genetic Roulette, and it really is a gamble. It really is a gamble when you're working with these genes and splicing insect genes and spiders into goats and just weird stuff. You're really messing with nature, and it's really a genetic roulette. You don't know what you're going to get sometimes, and you don't know what else you're going to affect that wasn't intended to be affected by this. So, but on a positive note, I'm going to go back to this whole soy thing, the fermented soy. And going back to the fermented soy being, seemingly being okay for you, and this ties into the whole soy allergens thing, and that's fermenting soy eliminates allergenic substances. There was a article also in 2008 by David Gutierrez. He's a staff writer for naturalnews.com. They're the ones that just happen to have a lot of info on this, so I pulled those articles. But it says fermenting soybeans causes chemical changes in the proteins that trigger soy allergies, drastically reducing the risk of allergic reactions, according to 2 studies conducted by researchers from the University of Illinois and the Instituto de Fermentaciones Industriales, which is the CSIC in Madrid, Spain. And it published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry and and food chemistry. The two studies by the same team of researchers found that when soy seeds, flour, or meal were fermented, the immunoreactivity of soy proteins was significantly reduced. And then they go on to say that an estimated 1 in 200 people has an allergy to soy. And the incidence of such allergies has been increasing in recent years. And because soy is a widely used ingredient in a variety of food, we saw that last week, the food industry is particularly interested in finding a way to get around this relatively high allergy rate. And then the article finishes by saying, currently, avoidance of soy products is the only acceptable way to cope with a soy allergy. And then they also, in the article, talks about them doing a test. They obtained some human plasma samples from the World Health Organization. And they speculated after testing these samples that in addition to being less likely to cause allergic reactions, the proteins produced during soy fermentation may turn out to have other nutritional benefits to humans. And then also after studying GMOs, it seems like this is, what I'm thinking, that there's no way out for us after studying this and thinking about it, and I'm being more aware, just by doing this show and every week, and I'm just so aware of it that I'm so much around it, and I cook for a living, so I really see this stuff, and I just can't help but look at the product label anytime that someone gives me something, and even if they offer it to me as a gift, they're like, here, have this, and it's almost, I don't want to look like a snob because I'm like, oh, I don't, I'm looking at the ingredients label right away, thinking that I don't trust them what they're giving me. But I'm just really aware. I say that because I'm just really aware of what food's out there, and I'm really aware of what I'm feeding myself and my family and others. And in studying this, I really get discouraged sometimes because I think, is there no way out for us? Because is there no way to avoid getting genetically modified food or some of the other foods that I'll be talking about in future special reports? But after thinking about that, and I found this clip from a documentary I was watching, and it really gave me hope about being able to beat this, to being able to raise awareness, take action, getting others involved, and really stopping this this predicament that we found ourselves in. And I'm going to show you this clip right now. It's from the Genetic Conspiracy. It's a little short half-hour documentary. It looked like it was made for TV, or it was on TV somewhere. But this is what can happen when we take action. This is a positive thing that I wanted to end on, and I want to show you this clip real quick, and then I'll come back and we'll finish up.
The next destination on our research trip is Japan. It's a huge market for the genetic engineering industry. Monsanto pushed its way onto the market with genetically modified soy during the mid-90s. Every Japanese person eats soy, and Monsanto wants a piece of the pie. And this even though resistance in Japan to genetically modified food is especially high. The avalanche set off by environmental activist Makiko Irasawa was grist to the mill for the opponents of this technology.
I thought it was so strange. I thought, I'm the consumer. I should be the one to decide whether or not I want to eat genetically engineered foods. But I wasn't able to do that with genetically modified soy.
Ms. Irasawa wanted to know what she was actually eating. She went to the Department of Health, and to her surprise, she was allowed to look at the licensing papers for Monsanto's GM Soy. This is not allowed elsewhere. The folders are kept in a simple metal cabinet. The unaltered originals mustn't be taken away or photocopied. They have to be copied out by hand. And that's just what Ms. Irasawa did. She and almost 100 helpers copied out nearly 1,000 pages. They noticed that there were serious discrepancies between the Japanese and the American versions. The Japanese one contained no reference, for example, to the weight changes experienced by the lab animals. What do such weight changes tell us? Makiko Irasawa isn't an expert, so she looked for someone who could scientifically evaluate the papers. She went to Masaharu Kawata, assistant professor of microbiology at the University of Nagoya. The same Professor Kawata whose internet texts had come to our attention. Professor Kawata promised us 3 examples to illustrate his criticism of Monsanto's soybeans.
Here we have the papers for the genetically modified soy. And right away we have the first problem. The artificially introduced gene, a protein, was not examined in the plant itself. Monsanto had this protein rebuilt by a bacterium in the laboratory. That is cheaper for Monsanto, but from a scientific point of view, the plant itself has to be examined. Because the protein in the soy and in the bacterium are not necessarily identical. Thus, this method cannot be used to exclude any health risks. And a second point of criticism. Monsanto only investigated a small fraction of the protein. Only the first 15 amino acids of the 455 the protein consists of were examined. The manufacturer cannot exclude allergy risks or even toxicities. I think it is likely Monsanto wanted to hide possible changes and thus possible dangers. This test here is very important. Soy is cooked because only cooked soy is palatable. If this cooking test fails, people's health is at risk. Monsanto conducted the following standard test. Boil once at 100 degrees for 10 minutes. Now the harmful proteins should be destroyed. But they weren't. What did they do then? They just repeated the test, again for 10 minutes at 100 degrees. The protein still wasn't destroyed. Then they boiled the genetically modified soy for a whole 25 minutes, this time at 220 degrees. That's what the papers say. The problem is obvious. No one preparing soy in the home cooks it at 220 degrees, and for half an hour at that. Genetically modified soy should not have been approved. It is probable that the genetic modification made the protein more stable. It just isn't destroyed. For me, this failed cooking test, it says here in the papers how they did it, has a direct connection to the increased number of allergies. Monsanto's conclusion that genetically modified soy is safe is wrong, probably even criminal.
A serious allegation by the professor. What does Monsanto say about this? They continue to deny our request for an interview. We looked for more information, but there are no data. A connection between genetically modified soy and allergies can neither be confirmed nor repudiated. What about the authorities? They didn't object to the documents. Clearly, they have completely different standards from scientists such as Professor Kawata.
So there are some great things that can come out of us taking action and you really taking seriously what I'm doing here every week and what others are doing and reading the articles that I link to. And but that's really, you know, a possibility that can happen, and it can happen in our country just like it did for Japan and other countries that have, you know, there's articles that have popping up all over about countries destroying GMO crops and making a stand against it. And so, but that concludes this week's special report on soy and the two-week, two-part series on the overall series of genetically modified foods. And we're going to continue on with it. Next week we're going to look at some genetically modified canola. Look at canola in general, what it is. I mean, I really didn't understand it that much. I know we cook with it a lot, and it supposedly has some health benefits, and there's one thing that they've told us, and then there's other things that contradict that. So we're going to look at that, and canola, just like we did this week with soy, we're going to look at canola in general, and then look at the genetically modified version of it and the risks involved with that, and what's going on there, and then on down the road with hopefully finishing up genetically modified foods in the next few weeks. And we'll do some on cotton as well, because that's one of the major crops that are genetically modified nowadays. But in conclusion, we have officially made it over the New Year's resolution hump. I call it that because the average New Year's resolution lasts about 45 days, which puts you at about Valentine's Day. If you say January 1st to February 14th, about 45 days in there, and generally people give up on their New Year's resolutions about this time. So I encourage you that if you're at that point, you don't give up and you keep it up, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve this year. But luckily for you that I'm not an average person, and this show isn't really a New Year's resolution. It just happened to be where I started at the first of the year, and an attempt to make it through the year and try to kind of keep the momentum and keep the steam up. But we're going to keep that going, and it just happened to be the first of the year, and that I wanted to start this. I wanted to start it for at least the last half of last year, and really thought that the first of the year would be a great time to start it. So we've made it over that hump. We're not going to be a statistic here. We're going to continue on it as much as possible. So just a little notes here. Podcast is up on iTunes. I have at least the first 4 episodes up there. At least the ones in January are up. Both the audio and the video versions. You can watch those on any of your iOS devices, or listen to them through your computer or on your iOS device or through iTunes. And then foodoffensive.com, of course, I post upcoming headlines and documents and upcoming stories and any news that's relevant to this show and what's going on with me in the show. And we're working on a document section, a source section that's coming up quick. It's taken a lot of time to get that together, but it's a place that we're going to have all of the files from one episode zipped together in one file, one folder. You can just download it. Hopefully just a one-click download. You can get all the articles, screenshots from all the websites and things. You don't even have to go to that site. You can just look right there, and the article is there, and it's in a hard copy format in case SOPA or ACTA or any of these other things that are trying to be passed come into play, and some of these sites get shut down. You never know what could happen, but we'll have hard copies of those things and some of those studies and articles that are out there that are well documented. And then something that's even more exciting is I have some t-shirts that are my own design. They'll soon be available. Of course, the logo of the show will be on there, but I have a lot of ideas, several dozen ideas for shirts, but I really don't have time to make them all. So with that being said, I have a call out, putting a call out to graphic designers that can help me if they want to just be involved to get the word out. And we're not trying to make any money really, but just to get the word out there and have some fun with it and wear other things besides the latest designer labels. So, and also videographers, if there's editors out there, maybe you're a student in graphic design school, or you're getting a degree in communications, or you're working on some class where you're dealing with editing with Final Cut or with Adobe Premiere Pro or any of those other programs. Maybe you're in school and you coming up in the spring, you're finishing up your school year, and you need to do a project for school, a last project or something. Then maybe you need material for that project. Well, help me out. If you need that material and you want to help out with this, I feel free to ask me, and I'll send you let you produce a whole episode for the week, because I do spend a lot of time on this, and it would be great if someone wanted to help out. So if you want some material or you need an idea for a class project or just practice, then feel free to send me an email or something through the website, showtips@foodoffensive.com, or you can also email foodoffensive@gmail.com. And of course, as always, this has been another foodoffensive.com weekly update coming at you from the front lines of our food supply. Thank you for joining me.